Hello, I'm Andy. Thanks so much for looking in. Having a good day here. The weather is mad outside. I don't know if you can hear the wind blowing, but it's blowing pretty hard at the moment. So definitely having a kick at the end of winter here. Anyway, I'm good, thanks. I hope you guys are doing good too. Today we're going to do a reading from the Native American Tarot. This isn't one I very often use, actually, but it's a wonderful deck, really interesting, and I'm really interested to see what's going to come out when we do a pick a card reading very shortly. But first, a couple of things to talk about, really. As the title suggests, this is another What Psychics Say, and we're looking really at spirit guides again. And this comes out of a question that came up on a live video that I did a couple of nights ago. Well, a couple of days ago if you're in the States and Canada, but it was night time here. And about those lives, guys, thanks everyone who watches them. And if you haven't seen the lives yet, do come along and join us on the live. You can join in the psychic chat and hopefully get a card as well. I'm sort of still trying to, you know, at least give everyone a little bit of something if they want a reading. I'm experimenting with those at the moment, okay, because I have been doing them using my mobile phone, and it's very difficult to see the chat comments because they appear and they're there for a few seconds, then they disappear, and that means that I'm sort of missing requests from people if I'm looking away at the cards or something. While the chat comment appears, then I miss it, which, you know, I'd like to be able to kind of really connect quite deeply, as deeply as possible with everyone really when I'm doing those lives. So I'm trying to get my computer to do them, but phones do it automatically. Computers need an awful lot of settings actually, and so far whenever I've tried it using the computer, I find that it keeps cutting out and buffering, you know, and then the lip movements aren't synced up with the words, and it's all very disconcerting. So I keep trying new things, and I'm going to do some experimental live feeds, which might not be the longest videos, but I will certainly do a proper live session. This week it's going to be Wednesday, which seems to be a good day for it. 8:30 p.m. UK time, which is 2:30 in the afternoon Central in the excuse me, in the States and Canada, so I hope you can work yours out from that. But there will be some experimental lives which might just completely go wrong or might only last a few minutes, who knows. But I'm always trying to find something new and something interesting to do along those lines. But anyway, you know, spirit guides, that's really what we're all about in this video. Just bringing the tarot cards out so they can start sort of energizing while I'm chatting away here. Should have sorted this out first really, but look, Native American Tarot, really wonderful deck, and I'm looking forward to doing this reading in a minute. Spirit guides though, right, the other night it was a Sunday night live that I did. It was about midnight here in UK, and somebody asked me, how do you know the difference between your own thoughts and what is being given to you by spirit guides? And the answer isn't a really hard and fast definite one, but I'll tell you everything that I can think of to tell you about that. And the bottom line is, you know, this actually links up very closely with the idea of opening and closing. And by that really I mean the crown chakra. We see it as a 1,000-petal lotus flower. That's the best way to look at it. And you can imagine the petals opening one by one, because it's important to do it kind of quite gently. And when you actually want to work, when you actually want to do a reading, or if someone asks you for a reading on the spur of the moment, you want to consciously open that crown chakra, because it's a kind of an affirmation that, you know, you're going to work with your spirit guides now, and you're asking them in, and you sort of call them around you, close your eyes maybe, just visualize them coming in around you, and with time, it gets so you can feel them coming around you. Actually, it's a definite feeling, a very hard feeling to describe, and actually a very subtle feeling a lot of the time. But the more you do, the less subtle it is, the more obvious it is. And then you really want to, I suppose, ask a question. You don't have to ask a specific question. There's a great deal of wisdom in just asking what Spirit have to tell you today, because you might have questions, and if it's important, they will always kind of tell you something that answers something of your question, at least, and points you in the right direction. Or they might be very specific. Who knows? Because at that point, we've given it over to them, and we'll just get the wisdom, we'll get the knowledge that they want to give us. And when you open yourself up like that, you can trust that what's coming in is actually what you're meant to give out. Now, I would like to say that absolutely everyone can do this. It is certainly true that everybody is psychic to a greater or lesser extent, and that you can become more psychic by working on it. But somebody told me quite early in the beginning of my mediumship time that it's like being on a wavelength, and you're either on that wavelength or you're not on that wavelength. And I wasn't too happy about that. I sort of wanted everyone to be able to do it. But it's one of those things. I mean, if you'd like to be able to do it and you try, most people find that they do actually get something. And the reason for this is that if you weren't on that wavelength, you probably wouldn't be interested in it. You probably wouldn't have the desire to actually learn this stuff and to be open to it. You might sort of just be afraid of this whole thing because it seems like ghosts, which is, you know, that's only one way of looking at it, really. And the ghost thing is that it's scary stories. It's something that gives people a thrill, and that's why ghost stories are the way they are. And you know, certainly it's not all plain sailing. There are unpleasant experiences to be had along the way. But I'm sure that people wouldn't actually want to do mediumship unless they had something of the gift, unless they actually were on that wavelength somewhere along the line. So if you want to do this and you're interested in it, keep on going. You know, the chances are it's going to work out for you. And it takes time, simply because you have to sort of get used to the feeling of it, really. More than anything. And again, I can't describe that feeling in a specific way. I think it's probably a bit different for everyone, because we've all got our own guardians, we've got our own guides, we've got our own angels on the case, and everybody has a gatekeeper, okay? Every living person, whether they're a medium or not, has a gatekeeper, and you can call on that gatekeeper. I used to wonder if I really had a gatekeeper, because things would happen that just seemed to me weren't good things, you know, and things that I wish wouldn't have happened would just happen. But as time's gone on, I've found that I have got a gatekeeper. I've been lucky enough to develop quite a happy relationship with my gatekeeper. And I've come to realise that, you know, the things I didn't enjoy so much were actually lessons. So, you know, there we are. There's a sort of some hints of what it's like to be a medium and to do mediumship, and how you actually distinguish your thoughts from the thoughts that are given to you by the spirit world goes in many ways, actually. But pretty surely, if you've decided that you're going to open up, if you've decided that you're going to do readings today, now you're going to do now I've got the cards out, and I am certainly going to be giving a reading. And once I start the reading, in fact, I think once I actually set the camera rolling, I know that what's coming out is what's meant to come out. It's coming from the spirit realms. My guides are around me. And interestingly, if you're watching this, your guides are around me as well. They know who's going to watch this video, and I hope that's going to be lots of people, actually. But they know what's going to go on. They know exactly how I'm going to shuffle the cards. They know the position of every card in this deck before I've even looked at it, and they will work through my hands, so I bring out the cards that are meant to come out. And that are going to make sense one way or another to just about everyone who's watching today. So there's faith there, you know, you've got to have faith. And that is one of the things that means that it takes time to get into mediumship and actually get used to doing it. You can't really be confident until you've seen it working. It's human nature, and it's perfectly fair enough. It's perfectly reasonable. But that's why it can take years to develop as a medium, really and truly it is, because you just got to have that confidence. And that confidence comes from giving things out and people saying, oh yes, I agree with that. That made sense to me. And that you feel that more keenly when you're doing one-to-one readings and it's just for one person. And this, by the way, is why I love doing the live readings as much as I do, because that really is, that's the epitome of what it's all about. You know, that's what really that's what it's all about, you know. It's one-to-one stuff between your spirit guide and my spirit guide. And in a video like this, we've got however many people are going to watch the video, all their spirit guides are around communicating with my spirit guides. When we're on the live, certainly then everyone's guide is around. But as I do a message, as I, you know, give something out, pull a card for somebody, whatever, their guide has stepped forward at that moment. And that's how I pick the names. And this is why I don't sort of work in order to a list of exactly who's come on and when, and why I don't do them in order. And that might not seem fair, and I'm sorry about that, actually. I wish it was more straightforward. But I'm drawn to a name, I'm drawn to something someone's typed at the moment that their spirit guide is ready to step forward. And so I know that whatever I'm saying then is going to be what I should give to that person. And if I feel a sense of doubt about any of it, I think, then I know that maybe I've picked something up a bit wrongly, and I will ask the spirit guide again, I will ask the question again, and I will try and keep it as accurate as possible that way. And judging from the comments people make, it seems to work a good sort of 90% of the time. There are mediums who can get it right 100% of the time, and my affirmation is that I'm going to be one of those before very long, because once you start making progress, you can make progress very quickly, because your guides are superhuman, and they will actually work you 24/7 unless you do the other end of opening the crown chakra, which is closing the crown chakra a petal at a time. It can happen quite quickly. You know, you can move the petals one after another very quickly, but you know, when you actually shut down, that's you saying, you know, I'm going to stop doing this work now, I'm going to have a rest. And it's so exciting doing the work that quite often people want to stay open as much as possible. That doesn't tend to be the best way to do it. So how can you then be available to people who suddenly come to you and they're in need of an explanation or an answer or some kind of spirit communication? Well, I've always found that I suddenly seem to pop open when that happens, but I'm aware of it happening, you know, so I actually know when I'm open, and that's the most important thing. And this is gatekeepers, this is where they come in, because they won't let you just be popped open randomly for nothing. They will say, oh, this person needs it, this person's come in, okay, we'll open you up now. And this is why it's so important to have a trusting relationship with your spirit guides, and particularly your gatekeeper. And that's something else that takes a little bit of time to build up, that feeling of confidence. It's all part of that feeling of confidence. So then when you know you're open, and when you made that affirmation that you're going to work, everything that comes to you is what you should give out. But the third or fourth time I went to a spiritualist church, there was an amazing medium on. I'm afraid I can't remember her name now. But she just talked for about 90 minutes and got everything absolutely right. And she was going into very fine details, not just kind of giving evidence of telling people, you know, this happened to you on this date when you were this age or whatever, but she'd kind of know what they'd had to eat, she'd know how they got to the place, she'd know what clothes they were wearing. She was absolutely amazing. And I said to her afterwards, how do you get so much information, you know, coming through? And she said, it's everything. She said, once you're open, it's everything that comes in is significant. You just give it out. It's like a conveyor belt. If you don't give it out, you'll sort of block, you'll hold up the process, you know, and it won't flow again until you just give it out, you know, give it as you get it, as they so often teach us in spiritualist circles. So that's it really, you know, it's when you're in the zone, and you know when you're in the zone, particularly if you've asked to be in the zone, particularly if you've deliberately opened up. But you know, if someone comes to you and needs help, needs a message, then you will be open. You may even see things as well as hear things, you know, that's what mediumship is all about. Sometimes I actually see the spirit guide in question. It's wonderful when that happens, quite often actually, and the more I do, the more that happens. You know, it grows and grows as you do it more and more. But at times, and this is just something I don't myself understand, something to do with the way that the spirit beings work. Sometimes they'll tell me what they look like, and I'll give out the same words, or they'll tell me what their job was or whatever, you know. Other times they'll be wearing clothes that suggest things. There's so many different facets to doing this, but to try and give an answer to a simple question, when you're open, you know that everything you're saying is what you're meant to say. One side of this would be thoughts which aren't your own thoughts. And that can be part of a mental illness at times, and very often people confuse mediumship with mental illness. I was taken to many child psychologists when I was young because of the things I was seeing and the things I was talking about. But, you know, as I've become an adult and as I've actually started on the path to mediumship, I've become aware that actually, you know, it is an absolutely real thing. I'm not saying, you know, mental illnesses and mental health problems don't exist, but as you kind of walk along the path, as you keep doing readings, you just get to know. Yeah, and if you've suddenly thought of something, I mean, a very common thing actually is that someone in the spirit world will want to point to an experience that they had or that the person asking the question has had, and they'll want me to give out that experience just to kind of prove that I have got a link and that it is actually them or that did actually happen to the person, whichever way. And sometimes it'll actually be something that happened to me in my own life as well. And that's a tricky one, you know, because that makes you think, oh, maybe this is just me remembering stuff. But you get to know through time, through experience, and you give that thing out and the person says, oh, yes, that happens. One evening, actually, I had a communicator who came through who looked like and had the same name as and the same job as a man who I knew when I was young, when I lived in a different part of UK. I was in the north of England then, and it absolutely amazed me. But I described this man that I knew, and this lady said, yes, that's him. And then when the message came, it was obviously somebody else. But, you know, they'll find correspondences. So if you want to develop mediumship, it's a great thing to have experiences. And if it's experiences that you can't have or you'd rather not have, like going through hard times, read, you know, read books, watch movies, whatever, but take in knowledge, take in other people's experiences. And that gives your spirit guides something to latch onto and say, so when you're racking your brains and someone said, you know, can you give me a message about something? You're more likely to suddenly see a scene from a film or something that happened to you in your own life. And because you're open and because you're actually with someone who is inquiring, you can be sure that you can give that out and it's going to hit the spot and it's going to make sense. So there you go. No easy answers, I'm afraid, but it gets easier and easier with time. It's trial and error, basically, but you don't have to make too many errors before you start getting it right. And if you want to be 100%, you know, straight away, then, you know, we're human, you know, and we're dealing with very magical spirit guides who can make anything happen and can tell us everything we want to know, everything we need to actually hear. But at the same time, it is coming into the human nutshell of the human body, as it were, and we are physically limited, and that's why it takes time. Excuse me. So give it all the time it needs, friends, if you want to walk on that road. Oh, I'm coughing away like mad here. Anyway, time to do a reading. So I've got the Native American Tarot. Here's the book that goes with it. Okay, and here's the box it comes in. This is quite an old deck. It's been around quite a while, but very magical. Anyway, let's get the camera on a table and pick a number from 1 to 5, and then we'll do a pick a card reading. Okay. So here we've got 5 cards laid out. You're going to pick 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, or are you going to pick 2 or 3 of them, 4 of them, 1 of them? It's entirely up to you guys. You can be your own psychic here. This is really what it's all about, and if you're not confident, just keep on doing it. You know, that's the way to do it. And I'm actually sure this is different from being a medium. This is something everybody can do with their psychic sense, okay? Your psychic sense knows where you're going, knows what's going to happen, what's going to come up. So friends, excuse me a minute there, There we go, just a bit of dirt on there, we don't want that. Let's get cracking, let's get stuck in, and just before I do, I'm going to read what it says on the back of the box. It says, tarot knowledge combined with the shamanism of Native Americans. Wisdom and strength come from harmony with the forces of nature. And that's what this deck is all about, and in a big way that's what life is all about as well. It's massively windy outside at the moment. I just know it's blowing change into my life somehow, some way. So here we go, tarot and the forces of nature and the Native American shamanistic amazing wisdom and knowledge guiding our choices here as we go. So card number 1. If you picked all 5, this is where it starts. If you picked card number 1, this is for you. Let's turn it over and see what it has to tell us. Right. Okay, it's one of those that has all different languages written on it. And it is number 8. And it's the Justice card. That's what it's all about. And we can see balance in the way this totem is here. It's got its wings outstretched. And of course, any animal is largely symmetrical. No animal is completely symmetrical. And that's all part of human nature, animal nature, the ways of the world, Mother Nature. Mother Nature can be incredibly perfect, but also usually displays some little imperfections somewhere along the line. That's how it works. And that, I guess, is the luck of things a lot of the time as well. But anyway, justice. Now, this is bringing balance into a situation for you. It's number 8. It's as above, so below. So part of that balance is the balance between heaven and earth, between the divine and the everyday lives that we lead. A lot of people don't believe in the divine, don't believe in a God. That's fair enough. I'm not here to tell people what they've got to believe in, but there is definitely some magic going on with the earth. And I'm not telling you you've got to believe that either, but if you don't believe anything at all, you probably wouldn't be watching a tarot reading. And I certainly believe there's a God. I believe in the divine and astrology and all the forces of nature. And we're seeing this coming together here. And this is a lot to do with the world situation as it is today. We're coming towards the age of Aquarius, as I've often said. It is going to take time. It's a process of hundreds of years for the age of Aquarius to actually get settled in and for everyone to actually start living that way. That's the nature of it, but we're moving towards it now. And all the mad imbalances in the world are actually going to balance out. But think of it this way too, friends. If you were being judged, how would you like to be judged? Think of that. And if you're called upon to judge others, then really think of that and judge other people and situations as you would like to be judged yourself. In other words, be compassionate and tread gently, tread carefully, not just on the earth too, but with everyone you meet as you walk through life. Tread gently and just be mindful of justice, be mindful of the balance that's shown here. And if you pick this card particularly, and there's a situation that seems to be all over the place, that's not making any sense to you, then sense is going to be made of it. Sense is going to come of it. It really is. Number 8 in the major arcana. So we move on to card number 2. And what have we here? This is the Knight of Pentacles. So the Pentacles, fantastic energy, lots of abundance involved with them, certainly. I'm not actually seeing any pentagram images on this card, but that is absolutely fine. This deck is really inspired very specially and in its own way. So it's the Knight of Pentacles. There is some kind of assistance, there is some kind of help coming towards you to help you make sense of things to do with, you know, finances, that kind of abundance, but just also with abundance of life. And one of the best forms of abundance you can have, friends, is an abundance of happiness. The Knight of Pentacles is great at that. I'm just going to look at this card in a way I can see it the right way up so I know what I'm looking at here. Okay. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm looking at. But we've got a great winged bird. That's what's going on here, see? The bird has got its wings spread out. And there's a man riding on the bird, riding on the eagle. So it really is on the wings of all those cosmic, all those spiritual forces that we're all being carried forward at the moment. If you pick this card, that is especially true for you and you're moving towards abundance. But as part of the reading, I guess we're all moving towards abundance. I guess that's where all the craziness of the world is taking us. So, did you pick card number 3? What is card number 3? Card number 3 is number 4, the number 4 of cups, or the number 4 of chalices, another way of looking at it. And wow, now this is a rather grisly looking character here. This looks like death warmed up, to be quite honest, but the nature of the 4 of cups is that we tend to be more concerned, more worried about a thing than we need to be, and we can move beyond that worry, because really it's a kind of fear, and we always want to move beyond fear, because being in a place of fear isn't very nice, and coming from a place of fear in our interactions with people and in our walk through life really doesn't help matters, you know. It just brings us a little bit of negativity in, which isn't really needed. Now, the world does have bad things happening in it, you know, there's no two ways about that, and I'm the last person to deny it. But I always look for the positive in situations if I possibly can. And when we get the 4 of cups, things aren't as bad as we think they are, okay? I don't want to sort of say, well, what you're worrying about doesn't matter, because if you're worried about something, then, you know, just the fact that you are worried about it actually matters, and it's great if you can move away from that. But this card is saying somehow what you're going through isn't as bad as it looks. Either it is literally just nothing like as bad as it looks and feels, or it's a lesson. It's taking you somewhere where you're going to know more, you're going to understand more, and it's going to bring more happiness to you in your walk through life. The 4 of cups. So what have we here? Now we have the 2 of swords. Ah, right. Now then, if you picked all 5 cards and we see this one as the heart of the matter, then this one's about moving forward. Well, it's about moving forward anyway, but particularly within the spread, it's coming forward from the 4 of cups situation here, and getting out of that situation where things are uncomfortable and there's that unhappy feeling. And the reason in this case for that unhappy feeling is just that there's a decision to make, you know, there's something important that's got to happen. That's what the swords are all about. We've got this sort of dragon bird character here going on, and we've got stones and rocks and things flying about everywhere, because this is how kind of crazy and how fragmented we become when we've got this massive mental effort going on trying to decide which way to go. It's a big decision, although it's only number 2 in the general story of the suit of swords. It's a big decision because it's an early decision, you know, and you need to work out where you're going to go next and really give all your energy to that, because we've got this massive dragon cockerel bird thing here, or chicken or whatever it is, and it's going places, you know. I would not ignore that if it walked into my room. It'd be not just the elephant in the room, but the chicken cockerel dragon thing in the room, and that would really make me want to sort it out. The fact is, when we get the 2 of swords, there's no point waiting for any new information to base your decision on. You're only going to get forward if you decide based on what you know now, and part of that knowledge, it's fair enough, part of that knowledge is that you maybe don't know the whole picture, but the point here is you're not going to know that whole picture until you've moved on a bit further forward. So do keep moving. If you drew the 2 of swords, that's super important. If you're looking at the whole spread, that's the advice as well, actually. But this is, if you're looking at the whole spread, this is how we move on from the middle card here, the heart of the matter, the fact that things are more worrying than they need to be, you know, and well, things are what they are. There's no getting away from it. But this card is saying kind of we're all a bit more worried than we need to be. This card says, well, it doesn't exactly say everything's okay, does it? Because we've got the giant chicken dragon thing going on here. But things can be fixed. We've just got to put the fragments together and not have such a fragmented way of looking at things. Because if we look at the big picture, we start to see there are good things going on as well as the things that are worrying us. And we can base our decision on moving towards the positives of the situation rather than just trying to blanketly get rid of the situation. The best way to move on is to keep the lessons and keep the love from the past and make them part of what you're going to decide as you go forward. And so we come to the outcome card, number 5. If you chose number 5, here we go. Well, it's number 5, whether you chose it or not, really. And it's number 4. It's done it again. This one's the Emperor from the Major Arcana, and we've got this great big eagle head totem here, and this tribal chief down here really does look like the Emperor in such a big way. So this is someone we can consult, you know, this is someone we can get advice from, most certainly. And the Emperor knows very well that everything happens in its own season for its own reason, and that when things are good, when abundance is good, it's best to save up some of that for, you know, future times when things might not be so good, when things might not be so easy to come by. And that can be happiness, that can be love, that can be material things as well. You've really got to decide. And you know, the most important interpretation on any of these cards in any of my readings, friends, is the interpretation that you put on them. Don't be afraid to make that interpretation for yourself. So we got this character down here playing a flute to the chief, to the Emperor, and bringing music around the Emperor. So there's something enchanted here, and the trick there is to kind of be enchanted about your own resources. See the magic in what you've actually got at the moment. Actually, just like in a reading I did about a week or two ago, find the blessings in your current situation, because they are there for sure. Now, this doesn't mean that things are suddenly going to get worse, but things are going to keep on changing for sure. And none of us knows where this world is going to bring us out at the end of the day. So we've got to think positive, we've got to be positive, and we've actually just got to keep striving for that positive outcome if we possibly can. But we, as well as, you know, having your manifesting head on and keeping looking forward and keeping believing, keeping the faith is so important with this. It's also really important to make the most of what you've got at the moment, and without blocking the flow of abundance, just kind of save the odd thing. I'm not saying hoard things up, but save the odd thing for the future, whether that's happiness. And how can you save happiness for the future? You can save happiness by, in a happy time, going somewhere where you've got a happy memory to look back on, spending time with someone who makes you happy, that kind of thing. But anyway, you know, store a little something up for a rainy day, because there might well be one coming. There's no rainy day indicated in the cards here in terms of the direction of the reading and what it's telling us. But the nature of human life in this world is that there are always going to be the odd rainy day, or a very windy day, as we've got in West Wales, United Kingdom, as I'm doing this video. Anyway, friends, there's the 5 cards. I hope you found it helpful. So there we are, guys. If you would like to buy me or buy the channel a coffee, please go to my page ko-fi.com/Andy's Readings. I'll do that again because I messed it up. ko-fi.com/Andy's Readings. You can take a look at the pictures on there of my sort of life in the woods here and stuff that's going on. I'm not updating it as much as I used to, because at the moment it's winter and everything's kind of dull and wet and grim, but we're coming very quickly towards spring. So head over to ko-fi.com/Andy's Readings and take a look at what's going on there. Do leave me a comment as well, please, guys. It's always good to share the journey, and that actually helps our spirit guides get to know each other, which then means, you know, if you come onto a live reading or if you ask me a question in the comments or something, I've got excuse me, I've got a much better chance of linking to your guide and actually being able to answer it. So leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, please, if you've enjoyed this one, and do hit that subscribe button. It makes a massive difference to the channel when you guys subscribe. It really does. It tells the algorithm, you know, this YouTuber is sort of worth promoting in some way, and you know, it helps the channel no end. It really does. And as I keep saying, do look out for the live videos, because there's going to be more of them coming up very soon. Meanwhile, thank you very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, friends. Love, light, blessings to you, and peace.